A man walks into a courtroom, and 12 people who have never met him look up. They don't know what he did. They haven't heard a single piece of evidence. But within about a tenth of a second, most of them have already decided how much they believe him. And the thing that decided it wasn't the evidence. It was his face. There is a bug in human judgment so reliable that psychologists have been reproducing it for over 50 years. It's called the halo effect, and it works like this. Your brain notices one good thing about a person. Then it quietly assumes everything else about them is good too. And the single most powerful trigger for it is a face you find attractive. In 1972, 3 researchers ran an experiment that sounds almost too simple to matter. They handed people photographs of strangers and asked them to guess what those strangers were like. Not their jobs, not their names, their character. The people looking at the attractive photos decided those strangers were kinder, more sensitive, more interesting, more likely to have a happy marriage, a better job, a better life ahead of them. All of that from a photograph. The researchers gave the finding a name that stuck. What is beautiful is good. And once you know it's there, you start seeing it everywhere. Teachers expect more from attractive children before they have handed in a single assignment. Voters pick candidates whose faces simply look more competent, at rates that have very little to do with policy. Strangers are quicker to help an attractive person who drops something in the street, because this isn't a lab curiosity. In 1974, a psychologist gave students a mock trial to judge. Same case, same evidence, the only thing that changed was the photo of the defendant. The attractive defendants were judged less likely to be guilty, and when they were found guilty, they were punished less, which is unsettling in a lab, and worse outside of one. In 1980, a researcher sat in on 60 real criminal trials in Pennsylvania. Real defendants, real judges, real sentences. Observers rated each defendant's appearance without knowing anything about the case. The more attractive defendants were significantly less likely to be sent to prison. Nobody in that courtroom thought they were doing this. That's the part that matters. The halo effect doesn't feel like bias. It feels like an opinion you arrived at yourself. But there's one situation where being attractive makes things dramatically worse, and we'll get to it. First, the money. Economists have measured what a face is worth, and the number is uncomfortable. In a landmark study of the labor market, workers rated as below average looking earned noticeably less than everyone else. Workers rated above average earned a premium on top. Same jobs, same qualifications. The gap shows up in hiring, in promotions, in performance reviews, in who gets funded. In experiments where strangers hand each other real money, attractive faces get trusted with more of it. And they are handed it by people who would swear their decision had nothing to do with looks. Which raises the obvious question. Are attractive people actually more trustworthy? To answer that, you have to look at how fast this happens. In 2006, researchers at Princeton flashed faces at people for 1/10 of a second. 100 milliseconds, barely a blink. Then they asked, is this person trustworthy? People had an answer. And here's the strange part. When other people were allowed to stare at the same faces for as long as they wanted, the answers barely changed. The extra time didn't produce a better judgment. It just made people more confident in the one they had already made. Your brain isn't evaluating the person. It has already filed them away, and it spends the rest of the conversation defending the filing. So why does beauty in particular flip the trust switch? The old answer is evolutionary. Symmetry, clear skin, and healthy proportions were rough signals of a body that had survived well. Our ancestors were reading them long before anyone had words for it. It's a decent story, but it isn't the whole one. Because there's a second explanation that's stranger and, honestly, more convincing. When researchers digitally blend dozens of faces into one composite, people find that composite more attractive than almost any of the faces that went into it. The average face wins, which is a clue, because an average face is the easiest possible face for your brain to process. It matches the template you have built from every face you have ever seen, and your brain has a habit it does not tell you about. When something is easy to process, it feels good. Easy to read feels more true. Easy to look at feels more honest. Psychologists call this processing fluency, and it turns up everywhere. Statements printed in a clearer font get rated as more likely to be true. Names that are easy to pronounce get judged as more trustworthy. Companies with stock tickers you can actually say out loud have outperformed unpronounceable ones in their first days of trading. So an attractive face may not be sending you a signal about character at all. It might just be effortless to look at, and your brain mistakes that ease for a good feeling about the person behind it. Beauty doesn't tell you they're honest. It just doesn't make you work. Which brings us back to the question we left open. When people actually measure it, attractive people are not more honest. In trust experiments, they get handed more money, and they don't return more of it. There's even a twist. When an attractive person underperforms, people punish them harder than they punish anyone else. The halo is a loan, and the interest is brutal. But the halo isn't entirely a fantasy either, and this is where it gets genuinely strange. In 1977, researchers ran an experiment on the telephone. Men had phone conversations with women they had never met. Before each call, each man was shown a photo and told it was the woman he was about to speak to. The photos were fake. Half the men got an attractive photo, half got an unattractive one, and neither had anything to do with who was actually on the line. The men who believed they were talking to an attractive woman were warmer, friendlier, more engaged, and the women on the other end, who had no idea any of this was happening, responded in kind. They became more animated, more confident, more likable. Independent listeners, hearing only the woman's side of the call, could tell the difference. The expectation created the person. So when we say attractive people seem more socially confident, we might be describing something we built ourselves. A lifetime of people being slightly warmer to you leaves a mark. Now, the exception I promised. In 1975, researchers gave people a case to sentence. In one version, the defendant had committed a burglary. In the other, the same defendant had run a swindle, charming a middle-aged man out of his savings. For the burglary, the attractive defendant got off lighter, exactly as you would expect. For the swindle, the attractive defendant got a harsher sentence than the unattractive one. Because in that crime, the beauty was the weapon. The halo protects you right up until people realize you used it, which tells you something about what was really going on. It was never admiration. It was a shortcut, and shortcuts get revoked the moment they are exposed. So what do you actually do with this? You can't turn the halo off. It fires before you are conscious of the face, and knowing about it doesn't stop it. But you can build around it. In the 1970s, American orchestras started auditioning musicians behind a screen. The players walked on carpet, so nobody could hear their shoes. Just the sound. No face. When economists studied what happened, the screen substantially increased the odds that a woman advanced through the rounds. Same musicians, same playing, one piece of fabric. You can run a smaller version of this constantly. Write down what you are looking for before you start looking, so the standard exists before the face does. Judge the work before you meet the person. Read the proposal before you see who wrote it. And when you catch yourself deciding someone is competent, ask what specific thing they did that proved it. If you can't name one, you're not looking at evidence. You're looking at a face. The uncomfortable truth is that trust was never built to be accurate. It was built to be fast. Your ancestors did not need to be right about a stranger. They needed to be quick. In a world of 150 people you had known your whole life, a fast guess was good enough. In a world of strangers, resumes, profile pictures, and juries, it isn't. So the next time someone walks into a room and you feel that quiet click of liking them before they have said a word, that feeling is real. It just isn't about them.